Welcome, welcome, Soul Peeps. Glad that you could make it today to Why Solle Works. This is our 5th episode of Why Solle Works. And if you've missed any of the previous episodes live, you can go to our YouTube channel and check those out. We've talked about adaptable, we've talked about renew, we've talked about fast tracked, and we've talked about excel. And Greg has covered all of those in detail, so go check those out if you haven't checked those out yet. So I'm Kendall Bird. I am the VP and founder, VP of brand and founder here at Soul Naturals. And I'm glad you could make it. We're also streaming on Facebook. So hello to our Facebook friends out there who are catching us on that. If you want to make a comment, please do so. We can only see the comments that are made on YouTube. So if you have a comment on Facebook, please make that comment and we will get back to you. If you have a question or whatever, our staff will check those and respond to those in a short time. Now, you've probably all heard about essential fatty acids and how important they are to our health. It's a topic that has been talked about recently. But the thing that's interesting about the essential fatty acids is the word essential means that it is essential that we get it through diet. Our bodies can't make those fats, and so we have to get them through diet. And a lot of people choose to get that through fish and fish oils that can sometimes have a bad flavor or a bad burping issue. And so here at Soul Naturals, we have chosen to cut out the middle fish and go straight to the plant because fish actually can't produce those essential fatty acids themselves either. They have to get that through eating plants as well. So we cut that middle fish out and go straight to the plants. And we do that in a product called SolmeGas. And that's what we're going to talk about today on Why Solle Works. Now, we are so blessed today to have Greg back with us today to talk to us about SolmeGas. He is so generous in his time and his knowledge to share that with us. And like he has in the last 5 episodes, and this time we're talking about SolmeGas. Greg?
I'm excited, Kendall.
Thanks for joining us. So let's learn a little bit about SolmeGas today and essential fatty acids.
Let's jump into SolmeGas and the information I'm going to share today. As always, a shout out to Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews, our Chief Scientific Advisor. And in the past, there are others that have contributed to these great trainings. And what I've tried to do today is to take from some of these previous trainings and summarize them and hopefully just give you a few nuggets that will help you in your own health journey and certainly help you as you share this information with others. Omegas, and particularly those from plants, can make a huge difference in our daily health. They play a part in pretty much everything important about these wonderful health processes that we want to keep in tip-top shape, and we can do that through our nutrition. So we're going to start with SolmeGas. You can look at this first picture. You can see what we would probably describe as the key ingredient, even though all of the ingredients are important. This is sea buckthorn that you see behind the bottle. So let's jump into these slides. We kind of like to refer to SolmeGas as a personal fountain of youth. It is one of the on the very short list of nutrients that we should be consuming every day. At least do it once a day if you can. Personally, I think it's even better to do perhaps 1 capsule in the morning and 1 in the evening instead of 2 at the same time. If you can't remember to do that, then just do them at the same time so that they're in that you're in your system every day. But they play such a key role, as you can see, in all those areas that we would consider part of the fountain of youth. Our circulation and our heart, our skin, softer skin, our mind, a more focused and a clearer mind, our joints, muscles, joints, and connective tissue, all of them draw heavily from essential fatty acid nutrition. And then finally, balanced nerves are mood regulation. So not just keeping a clear mind and a sharp mind and avoiding some of that deterioration that comes, from age, but also keeping a healthy stress level. We believe one of the key reasons that we founded Soul Naturals is that when we can keep ourselves in a healthy range of stress response, and that is that we don't feel pushed to the extremes, too high or too low. Though you can have all the feeling and all the energy when good things happen, but at the same time we don't find ourselves fluctuating so much. When that is the situation for us, we believe that the body does better in terms of absorbing nutrition, in terms of rebuilding and repair and regeneration, which it's always involved in. And so Solmegas is right at the center because it's dealing with this all-important area of healthy fats that we just don't get enough of typically due to lifestyle choices and diet. We do feel like most people are aware of omegas. They're a very major category in the industry. A lot of people have at some point taken a supplement that is omega, but usually it's fish oil. And as Kendall said, fish oil actually can be very good. There is also a better way. Yes, even better. Powerful plant omegas are even better because we don't have to deal with the issues of that processing of marine omegas. We simply take them straight from the plants, which are the source. Many plants have omegas in them and a variety of omegas. We cut out the middle fish and we go right to the source of omegas. Solmegas itself is what I would call a balanced omega formula because it has omegas 3, 6, 7, and 9. Most people have heard of 3, 6, and 9. Not so many have heard of omega 7. Hopefully I'll mention a little bit more about that. So why is all this so important? Well, we mentioned a little bit of that fountain of youth that omegas can be. And in particularly Solmegas, because what we've seen and what we believe at Soul is that the body readily leverages nutrition from plants, more easily converts them to the form that we need to do what our body's trying to do, all sorts of daily vital processes for life. And so I think along with that idea, remembering that the body is always regenerating, that all the cells, every last one of them will replace and repair, they can only do that with the materials at hand, the nutrition at hand. When we improve the nutrition or the raw materials that the body uses, think about it, now the body gets to rebuild with something different, something hopefully better. When this happens, our body is able to improve upon where it's been in the past due to our dietary restrictions or, say, heavy stress, sort of environmental factors, we'll call it that impede some of our ability to recuperate, to bounce back, to repair, etc. I realize I'm using a little bit of general terminology, but omegas are that broad. So these next few slides, I wanted to touch on this point, what the body's trying to do with this nutrition. Sometimes we think about, okay, when a baby's born and grows to adulthood, there's a lot of development going on. Well, that is true. Omegas are a huge part of brain development, structure, and function, greatly influenced by whether or not we have omegas in the diet and how much of them and where they come from, what the variety is. All of this impacts brain development. So even though this slide doesn't mention kids, I love to talk about it with respect to children. Because people might ask, do children need omegas? I think they absolutely do. From a very early age, if they can be receiving omegas in their diet, and there are certain plants that are high in them, but they're not always easy to get. It is easy to take SolmeGas, and even if they're maybe a little big, the soft gel for a smaller child, you can always open them up. And we do have Solle specialists who do that. And you can squirt them into a smoothie or something, some good food that somewhat masks the flavor. Why can you do that with Solmegas? Because Solmegas does not have these strong, harsh fish taste. There are mild oils in it. You can taste the flax in there. You can taste a little bit of the sea buckthorn, and we'll get into in a second what some of those omegas are.
Yeah, it's kind of a nutty, kind of a pleasant nutty flavor. You can put on salads and what have you there.
Yeah, it actually is, and we do eat them from time to time here in the office. I like to chew an omega in the afternoon. That sounds funny, but I keep a bottle right next to my desk. There is something about having those omegas right there in your mouth, and digestion and absorption happens kind of to a certain extent right when food gets into us, and then on its way down and in the stomach and et cetera, into the intestine. So I actually like to have the SolmeGas, sometimes just to be savoring them. You could do that with this, and you can't really do that with fish oil. But back to the slide, what do omegas do in terms of development? Vision development and eye health is another one. So I'm bringing this up with children, but we need to remember that we're always rebuilding as adults too, really until the day that we finish our time on this earth. And so we can always do some good by improving the raw materials, the fats that are part of our diet. This is part of the short list of protein, fats, and good carbohydrates that our body needs in macro amounts, in large amounts. So it's worth it. It's worth it to carve out a space for SolmeGas every day at whatever level. So let's keep going, though, on what else these omegas do. We know they're involved in signaling, neural cell signaling. Also, the transmitters, the neurotransmitters, and the processes by which they're developed and carried out. Protecting against cognitive decline, I think I mentioned that with brain, obviously brain health. Protecting against deterioration or impediments to heart health. Cell membranes, our whole body is made of cells. Omegas are an important part of that as well. When we have healthier cell structure, we don't have problems where things get into parts of our body that shouldn't get into those parts, into cells or into the bloodstream or into crossing natural barriers that the body is built to keep in place, so that what does absorb in should be absorbed and what doesn't is passed through and eliminated from the body. Cell membrane health is part of all of that. Omegas are a difference maker in cell membrane health. So these are the omegas that are in the formula. Honestly, that is a pretty good looking platter. Wouldn't you say, Kendall?
Yeah.
Those 6 items, those are great photos, by the way, that you found of them. But there is a lot of color in the SolmeGas formula. And I once was taught by a very wise herbalist when I first entered into this industry a little over 30 years ago. I don't remember her exact words to me, but she said, Greg, if you want to be healthier, always put a lot of color on your plate at mealtime. And I think what she meant, applies to omegas. They come in this formula from a variety of sources, and you can see that they're different. In some cases, we're using fruit. The sea buckthorn fruit is part of it. We include the seed as well. In some cases, we're seeds, 2 different kinds of seeds. The black small chia seed and the bigger brownish flax seed. And then you see black currant. There's another fruit. You see perilla. Now, we're showing the leaves here because perilla leaves are used as a salad in many parts of the world. But we actually, in particular, use the seeds in this formula. And finally, sunflower, where we're using part of the seed, the lecithin extracted from sunflower oil. These are all the ingredients. So a very balanced omega. Let's tell you just a little bit about why we included the ingredients. Well, on the label of SolmeGas, you see little shadow plant is sea buckthorn, because sea buckthorn is the queen ingredient. We use 2 different forms of sea buckthorn, both the fruit and the seed. And because we use both, you get all 4 of these omegas, 3, 6, 7, and 9. 7 is not so common. In fact, you don't see it in very many multi-omega formulas. But 7 has some wonderful research to do with mood regulation and emotional balance. In addition to this great variety of omegas, sea buckthorn is, in every sense of the word, a superfood because it contains on the upper side of 160 biological. In fact, I think that it's funny because more are discovered here and there, but at least 160. I've seen different numbers in different reports. 160 different biological compounds known to be beneficial to us. Among those are 22 different fatty acids. Kendall mentioned that some fatty acids are essential because we can't manufacture them in the body. And sea buckthorn is loaded with those. So it is, with good reason, the queen ingredient of the formula. Now, here are a couple of studies. One study was simply with the seed oil that showed, this was in India, published in India, and it showed how great benefits sea buckthorn can be to our heart, protecting our heart, strengthening our circulation. Another study, this is in 2012. This honestly was the year that we launched this product. Wonderful studies showing the great benefits for our skin, the great longevity benefits of sea buckthorn as a source of essential fatty acids and omegas and many other constituents that help protect healthy skin, regulate moisture content in our skin, among other things. So sea buckthorn is the champ in this formula. Now, chia seed is a popular addition in salads and in smoothies and in other things. One of the reasons chia is in this formula, because almost half of that seed is omega-3s. There's so much in our processed food consumption that has omega-6. And there's lots of literature that shows when the ratio of omega-6 is too high, that is compared to omega-3, that there are all sorts of metabolic issues, weight gain issues, mood issues. There's a long list. When we simply increase the amount of omega-3s, all markers to do with protective, I'm thinking of some studies in heart health and severe heart conditions go way down. Just swaying that ratio more toward omega-3s away from omega-6s and these processed oils that are part of so many of the foods that we eat. So chia is in the formula to help do that. It was also used by early Americans as an endurance staple and vitality in general. That makes sense because of its high omega content. There is a study in Australia that points to chia as a liver protector. So we know it's heart protecting. And they looked at the particular benefits of chia and its particular omegas that are associated closely with liver health. Well, that makes sense as well. The more we can provide good fats, the more our liver can release and rid itself of a fatty condition. And that's another interesting conversation with omegas and fats in general. We usually talk about this with Infatuate. The simple change of improving the types of fats that come into my diet will trigger, if we're consistent with that, can trigger a purifying process for the liver, and then so much is better in terms of the body's ability to rid itself of things that need to get out of us and rebuild itself in a better way. So that's a little bit about chia. Now, flaxseed also is wonderful, a great source of omega-3. It's high in certain plant compounds that balance hormones. So that's another interesting point. Not everyone thinks of Solmegas as a key component in sort of any health condition where hormones are out of whack. And there's so many ways that comes into, I think, the conversation, because we do a lot of testing for that. in our society. But the answer is often, well, we're going to take hormones or we're going to take something to alter that mix. We don't always think of nutrition and in bringing some natural essential fatty acids like those included in flaxseed and the effect that they have in balancing hormones. There are some good studies in terms of lessening mood swings, so they aren't so severe just by adding flaxseed to the diet. So that's also in SolmeGas. And now we get to black currant. I love this one because black currant not only has all these wonderful essential fatty acids, but some other great components that are super key for heart health and many of the vital organs, like quercetin and anthocyanins and proanthocyanins, part of that dark color of the fruit, right? But there was a study with black currant that in particular that led us to include it in the formula. One was about lifting mood, and it was a fairly large study. This study was with women. It would work just as well with men. How positively mood was affected just eating black currant. And around the same time, a study that we read about cholesterol, and so the state of our fats in blood and in circulation. There was a study with comparing fish oils with black currant. So now you have omegas from a plant source that have cut out the middle fish, and then the omegas that are accumulating in fish. So again, a good source. How did those compare? Well, the black currant did better. The cholesterol levels were lower and more improved with the black currant group than they were with the traditional fish oils. And I like to include that because sometimes people wonder, okay, if I try SolmeGas, do I have to take more? Are they going to be, I love that they're from plants and I don't have to burp the fish, but are they going to be as powerful? Mm-hmm. And the answer is, they're going to be more. You're actually going to get a better result. And that's borne out. We've had some of the Solle leaders. I know one story in particular I'm thinking of with Lydia, who, and I'm trying to remember if this was her mother's father. I think it was her mother's father living with them, was using omegas for a very serious health condition. He was, I can't remember his age, but he was well into his later years of life. And he was able to take significantly less soft gels of omegas when he started using SolmeGas than when he used the fish source. So black currant, that study just verified what we have seen here at Solle with the SolmeGas. You probably can take less if you stay consistent with it. And then the final ingredient is perilla seed. This is a look at the plant. It's actually a really pretty plant. It's called beefsteak plant. Looks a little bit like stinging nettle, but no stingers. It's a member of the mint family. Lots of great therapeutic plants are relatives are mint or relatives of mint. And we use quite a few of them at Solle. Mm-hmm. A couple of them are adaptogens. Perilla is quite interesting. Been used in traditional Chinese medicine. It's, as I mentioned, the leaves are eaten in salads, China, Japan, and Korea. And they grind the seeds for use in Korea in particular, and they press the seeds for oil in Korea, which I believe is where we source our perilla. Blake would have to verify that. Why do we love perilla so much? Look at the percentage of, now ALA is an omega-3, it's alpha-linoleic acid. More than half of that seed, up to 60%, is pure omega-3. It's a wonderful tasting, mild like olive oil, omega, and a great percentage and very bioavailable, so that you get into this discussion that I mentioned, I alluded to earlier. When we give our body better raw materials, our body can do more with it and more easily do what it's been trying to do all along with the food that we give it. And one of those that gets talked a lot about in omegas, I wasn't going to mention a lot about this tonight, but it's worth at least saying it. There's a lot of talk about EPA and DHA. In the case of EPA, our body can manufacture this. What you'll hear often is that our body's not very good at it. And the reason it's not very good at it is what we give our body to work with. Now, when we give our body something good like perilla oil, our body's quite good at making the things it's supposed to make. And so what we've seen, and the black currant study also shows the same thing, is that we can use a plant source and the body can do quite well. In fact, it often does much better than the animal source in every way with the compounds that it makes, like each EPA, our body's able to make that when we give it the right raw materials. Perilla oil was added to further aid in this process, and that's why it's in the formula. Now, there are quite a few studies. In fact, this is only 3 of them. I have a page of like 10 or 15 studies that perilla has been involved with. One of them is inflammation in the colon. What they found is the perilla oil, this was a lot like the black currant study. They compared it to EPA coming from fish oil, and the perilla oil did as well or slightly better. In the end, they said it actually may be more effective at balancing that inflammation down, calming it down. So not always do we think of omegas as something that can help inflammations, but absolutely they're wonderful at that. The lungs in conditions of asthma, another study with perilla. Our overall metabolic processes and how we gain or hold weight. Perilla is actually another one where studies show it improved several key markers, so that's why they use the word. It may be helpful here because they try not to overstate in the studies. And finally, we have a little bit of lecithin. If you open up the Solmegas, the beautiful color you see is not a colored soft gel. It is the color of sea buckthorn, that berry that you saw. And if you look really closely, you see a little bit of white milkiness. And sometimes people wonder, what is that? Well, that's what you're looking at right now, what that is, the sunflower lecithin. Why is it in there? Because lecithin is ambrosia for the brain, I will just say. It's whatever substance you can think of is like the ultimate for a certain result. Lecithin is to the brain in my view. And sunflower lecithin, I love the source. You can get lecithin from soy, but soy can bring issues with it, other health issues that are unwanted. Sunflower does not. And so you have these wonderful brain benefits. But its principal reason for being in here is it's a great addition to the whole fat digestion and assimilation. So that whole breakdown, preparing the fats into the fatty acid, the state where our body needs them and uses them, sunflower lecithin is a great help in that, and that's why it's in the formula. So I mentioned, it's designed to be one. You could even, a product where you could even benefit with one a day. If you want to see a bigger difference, do 2. And if you have reason to take action because you want to change the direction about one of these aspects we talked about today, could be heart health, could be your skin, could be mood and hormone balance, could be any number of key health functions, and you have not yet tried the virtue of omegas, plant-based omegas in that endeavor, I would recommend you give Solmegas a try and try it at a higher level, like maybe 2 in the morning and 2 at night, something a little more substantial in terms of the quantity. I do have one story. I don't know if we have time, Kendall.
Yeah, that's it.
On this point, and I've talked to my son Ethan, and he's given me permission to share this. I've shared this a few times. But when Ethan turned, I want to say it was between 10 and 11, he actually started to develop some nervous tics. And as we took him to a neurologist here in the Valley, a very good, I will add. We loved the way he worked with Ethan and his openness to all things that could affect this. He explained to us that Ethan had what he diagnosed as Tourette's. So Tourette's, we learned from this doctor, from Ethan's doctor, is a combination of ADD or ADHD and anxiety. When those meet a certain level, you can have what are called nervous tics. So they could be either twitching, some type of twitching, or it could be vocal, where all of a sudden, I might be talking and suddenly a loud noise comes out or louder. And some of these uncontrollable tics, when they happen a certain amount of times during a day, I can't remember the number he gave us because it's been so many years now, and Ethan's doing so well now. At that level, they now say, okay, this is Tourette's, versus someone who maybe once in a while gets them, they'll just say they have nervous tics. Well, this is what Ethan was going through, and it got to the point with him where we noticed it, and then it got more and more severe to where it almost shut him down in school. What I mean by that is he did not dare to raise his hand. He was pretty engaged in his studies. He was doing very well in everything. His sixth grade year, so that would have been he was 11. And then right toward the end of it, when this started to surge in him, we noticed things changed, and he would not talk at all. And in fact, my heart really went out to him because it was so traumatic for him. They didn't want to talk in any public setting, didn't even want to be in public settings. And some of the things that he did, like sports, he was nervous to participate in for the same reasons. For him, mostly it was vocal tics, but also you could see some twitching, in his face as well. So we obviously talked with some of our friends at Solle about this when Ethan was going through this. And one of the things that we quickly came onto was Solmegas. And so Ethan, actually, I brought home a bottle of Solmegas, and what I asked him to do, because he was only, like I say, I was thinking he was 10, but he was probably 11 because it was his sixth grade. We asked him to take one in the morning and one at night. So that's what he did. He took one and one. And I said, do it for a few days, bud, and tell me if you notice anything. So he did it. I don't remember now. It's been a while. But I think it was maybe 3 to 5 days, less than a week. And he told me, he said, I don't notice anything. So I said, okay, let's go to 2 and 2. Would you do that? And he said, yeah, I'll do it. He was so sort of traumatized, he was willing to try anything. And so he took 2 in the morning, 2 at night. After it wasn't any more than 2 or 3 days doing this, he said, Dad, I notice a difference. I said, what do you notice? He said, I actually, when the tics come, like the urge to do something, I can stop it. But he still had all these constant urges to, it's like to move your hand or to say something loud or to whatever. And so he said, it's getting better. And I said, okay, we'll just keep doing it. He said, I'm going to do 3. Because he felt like if I'm feeling better with 2, maybe I'll feel even better with 3. So he did 3 and 3, 3 in the morning, 3 at night. After several days of doing that, he said, I feel even better, Dad. Like the tics, I feel less of them during the day, a lot less. So he says, I'm going to do 4 and 4. And I said, well, wait a few days, let's do it like for a week at 3 and 3 before you go to 4 and 4. And he goes, I honestly don't know if he waited, but he went to 4 and 4 and he did it for a few days. And he said, it didn't feel any different than I did with 3 and 3. So I said, okay, so you found your level. And so that's what he did. He stayed at 3. So that's 6 of SolmeGas a day. Now that's not typical. That's not just nutritional supplementation. He's actually dealing with an issue that he was seeing a difference with simply adding these Solmegas. Now I will tell you, he did that for many weeks and a number of months. I don't remember how many months he took 6 a day, 3 in the morning, 3 at night. We did not have to remind him. It was such a difference maker for him at school and with his friends. He just did it himself. And at some point, I can't even tell you when, he started to back down. Now, Ethan is now 19. He just turned 19. He still to this day takes 2 Solmegas, but he only takes 2 when he goes to bed at night. He doesn't, I wish he would do some in the morning, and he's like, Dad, I won't remember. But he does remember at night. So what he does is he takes 2 Solmegas at night, 2 adaptable, and he has done that as well this entire period of time. 2 capsules of adaptable and 2 Solmegas every night. Now, there was a period of time, I need to tell you, that he did something else. When he was going through this great change and he saw so much improvement when he was doing 3 and 3, when he first started doing that, we told many of you know Valerie Bledsoe. We told Valerie what Ethan was going through, and he still was super tired, and there were some other issues that still were lingering, kind of weighing him down, even though the Solmegas was really changing the tic part of it. And so Valerie said, Greg, I think you ought to suggest Ethan the bomb, the Solle bomb. So the Solle bomb is, if you don't know what that is, it's all 4 signature drinks in like a big old, 24 ounce, 30 ounce container, and you take them all at once. Ethan was all over that. Ethan started taking the Solle bomb right during this period of time. And he did that, I would say for, let's see if he was 12, 11, 12. I would say for 5 years, rarely missing. This is what he did before he went to school. He did the bomb, and at night he did the omegas, because he quickly, after doing for the number of weeks and a few months doing the three and three, he just did them at night. So he was doing the omegas and adaptable at night and the bomb in the morning. That was Ethan's recipe. I hope it helps someone out there or someone that you run into. That's what he did, going to school all through junior high, all through high school. Now, he does not do the bomb every day anymore. But he will grab a Cinemate here or a Vital here. He uses the drinks here and there. But one thing he has not changed is 2 Solmegas at night and 2 adaptable. Now, the last thing he's added, I know it's a little off our SolmeGas, Kendall, but when we announced and launched the Neuro IM, he loves that one. And he added 2 Neuro IM, and he does do that at night with his Megas and adaptable. So Ethan's program is 2 Neuro, 2 adaptable, 2 Omegas every night. And I asked him what changed with the Neuro. He goes, I can't tell you. But he goes, I just for school and study, he goes, I think I just think better. So he's got Omegas and adaptable, and he does the Neuro. So anyway, that's hopefully that can be helpful. But SolmeGas are such a foundational. They are a foundational for everyone, I think.
Yeah, and so we've talked about several different things that you might consider taking omegas for, but who should take omegas? You've alluded to this, but I want you to make this clear.
I don't think there's ever a time we shouldn't.
Yeah.
How much you take is what you will, I think, adjust and change over time. But it is not very easy. I don't even know if it's possible to just grab foods and get enough of these fats for our needs today, both stress needs and otherwise. And whereas if we take a supplement, it is concentrated. You're going to get really therapeutic amounts. I mean, obviously, as we've seen, amounts that can make a difference.
Yeah. I think everybody should be taking this for their health in general. Yeah. So thank you, Greg. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us today and your story of your son. I appreciate that. And now it's time to check in with somebody else who has had an experience with SolmeGas, and that person is Rebecca Norman, and she's coming to us from Palm Springs. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hello. Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me on here.
Great. Thanks for coming. Tell us about your experience with SolmeGas.
Well, there's a couple, but I'm going to start with my personal experience. I have always, I don't know if you can tell on here, but I've always had very, very, very dry skin. My hands have always been an issue for me. So at a really young age, I started on oils. I remember digging into the vitamin E oils and eating them as fast as I could as a kid, sneaking into them. I always craved the oils. And so as I got older, my skin has gotten to where it was really painfully dry, where I'd get cracks in my fingers and my feet, itching, rough patches, just a lot of skin irritation issues and stuff. And so I had become accustomed to taking a lot of different oils. I was on omega-3s, lecithin, DHA, vitamin E. I was on so many different oil blends because I was so desperate to get relief for my hands. So lo and behold, come upon Solle and tried our SolmeGas and saved a ton of money by being able to not buy all of these different supplements and had amazing results. So I've been on these for many years, almost 10 years, I think. And I got kind of lazy and forgot to take my SolmeGas, kind of left them out, stopped doing it for a little while. It happens, and I try not to ever let that happen. Well, sure enough, my skin starts cracking. I'm having the burning. My feet are cracking. And I was like, what am I doing wrong here? And it was the SolmeGas. I was missing my SolmeGas. So as soon as I added them back in, my skin levels right back out. And I don't have that pain and itching and cracking anymore. So it has been amazing. And it's so nice to have one product that I can take and get all those oils. And it's clearly not a weak dose or poorly sourced, because those pills take care of everything better than it ever did with taking all those individually. And I didn't get my supplements at like box chain stores. I got them from a very well-known company that had high quality products, and these were on a whole other level. So I do not forget my Solmegas at all. And of course, we have all of the cardiovascular benefits and all of these other benefits associated with them, which is why I put my husband on them also. But the side benefit for him was he had psoriasis all here, kind of near his mouth, different spots on his scalp. And when we got married, he had junky ones in his medicine cabinet. And I'm like, you got to get this stuff out of here. And once we got him on the Solmegas, it went away. He's on 2 a day, and he has not had any flare-ups at all as long as he's been on them. It's incredible. They're very powerful, and it's saved money, and we know we're getting like the best of the best of the best.
Man, that's great to hear. So sorry that you suffered with that for so long, but it's just so great to hear that you've had some success with that, and it's great when you can share that with family members and see their success. I just love it. I love to hear it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. Love you. Take care.
I love you guys. See you all soon.
Oh, Rebecca, you're great. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. Now, our next episode of Why Solle Works is on the 25th of this month, and we have a special guest. Jennifer Pressimone, our formulator for our oils, will come, and she will speak to us about Balance, the Balance blend oil. So we're pretty excited about that, and we're so grateful for her to come on and spend some time with us on the 25th. That's in 2 weeks. So we'll see you there. Thanks.